I'm Alec, and this is a Fistful of Vinyl interview. And this is my buddy Matt Pless, who just played a handful of songs for us, and which you've probably watched by this point. And yeah, I don't know, I thought it'd be cool to like take a chance and sit down and kind of talk through like where you've come from as an artist to like where you are now. Even like where you've come from, because this is your second Fistful of Vinyl session. The first one we did a couple years ago on air. And I'm sure like we've both grown a lot since then. So I kind of want to see, take like a benchmark. Like, what's life been like since then? How's your interaction with your art sort of changed? How's your interaction with like the idea of like touring or like being a musician changed? And I want to talk about your new album as well, because I know that's dropping, and everything I've heard from it so far has been really, really cool and really promising. So yeah. And I don't know, I should have organized these better. Okay, so you're from Baltimore. And I kind of want to know what role Baltimore plays in your music now. Like, and every one of these questions, just so I don't have to keep asking it, how has that changed over time? Otherwise, I'm going to be harping on that every question.
I feel like Baltimore hasn't really played much of a part in any of my music ever, just because for the stuff I do over the years, there just hasn't been a really good scene for it there. Mm-hmm. And, I guess when I first started doing acoustic stuff, when my punk band broke up years ago, I did a lot of open mics in Baltimore to a lot of nobody, and that was about the most Baltimore's really played as far as a part in my music and art, because there's just not a whole lot of action going on there for what I do. But it's a good place to go back to and like see family and friends.
So do you consider sort of like separate of the music then, like whereas like your music life is like what's on the road, and then your like non-music life or your home life is Baltimore?
I feel like I don't have a non-music life really. I mean, it's like a 24/7 job. It's like if you want to like do it and really do it. Like, I mean, some people do it for fun, some people do it for like a hobby or just like catharsis, whatever. But like I do it just like because it's like it's my life. Like I feel like I know for a fact that everyone I know right now in my life, with the exception of maybe 10 people I've met through music, like I haven't met anyone outside of music in like 15 years.
Interesting. Yeah, that's how we know each other.
Yeah, everybody.
That's kind of an interesting thing to reflect on. Of like, I mean, because that if anything is like a testimony of like how different your life would be if you never followed the music path.
Yeah.
Like every person, with the exception of like the 10 or so that you mentioned, like every person in your life would be different.
Yeah.
Weird.
The road not taken makes all the difference.
And how long have you been doing like the touring, semi-professional music thing?
I don't know if it's professional yet, but it's something.
I threw a semi-professional. I figured you would tend to whichever side of that you felt more comfortable with.
I didn't hear the semi part. I'm sorry. I've been hearing too much acoustic music. It's messing with my ears. Anyway, I don't know. I guess when I met you, I was on tour for 5 years straight. During that time, I didn't stop. I just like toured like forever, like playing houses and basements and all that, bars and anywhere, And I took a year and a half off about because I got in a car accident. I wrecked my car, and I got in 2 car accidents actually, but the last one was just like kind of financially put me in the hole a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I went up and lived in New York City for a year, and stayed with my friend, and she gave me a really good deal in a room in an apartment, and I ended up getting in an extra role in a TV series with James Franco, and I got paid like $3,000 just to like sit dressed like a 70s guy on the street for this show called The Deuce that's coming out sometime. But anyway, I did that and just like chilled in New York and partied and wrote a bunch of songs during like the summer of election chaos, and then I put a new album out. It's called Catch Me If You Can, and all those songs are on it, and now I'm back on the road for that.
And do you foresee being on the road for like 5 years straight, or you just kind of play it by ear?
You never know what's gonna happen, I mean, I could say like, I want to tour a more sane amount, but on one hand, I think there's a part of me that's like, a sane amount is like going as far as you can all the time, and the insane amount is not doing it as much and like getting job at a cubicle or something that I don't like forever. But then there's also the part that I'm like, well, I'd like to make some money with music or something, so I don't have to sell my soul to something I hate. Like, like if you're gonna get screwed, like get screwed with lube and do something that you love while you get paid. Because otherwise it'd be at Walmart, and like the Walmart's, the man's still getting your dollar. It's just like you're still working for the man. But I'd like to have some downtime where I could have a place of my own, like for more than a couple months, and maybe take a vacation sometimes. But I don't know, it's like every time I have a chance to just chill out, I'm like, let's go do music. It's just like it's hard to let go of it. I don't. It's just like who I am.
I hear you. Has your so over the amount of time that you've been touring, that you've been playing music, like, has your interaction with your music changed, or like the lens through which you write your music or interact with other people's music changed?
I think it's always got to change. I think if you're an artist, you have to keep going through changes in order to keep your art, keep inspiring your art. Because I suppose someone can be super super creative and just sit and stare at the same wall for 10 years and write about 500 different reflections on that wall. But I tend to view it more as, for me, you gotta do this for now, and then you gotta change what you're doing and do something else and get a whole new perspective. You gotta keep changing the lens you're looking through. Because that lens has to, you have to change how you see things, change what you're doing, change your experience, or else you'll stagnate. Don't get too comfortable, with anything, I guess.
Seems like introducing challenges to your life is the same thing that introduces creativity.
Yeah,
at least latently.
Stagnation is the death of art, for me, I think, and it's like a blessing and a curse, because there's a part of me that wants to have that peace of mind, but sometimes I get scared I'm not gonna be able to write or create anymore if I just get stuck in the same routine too much. But then sometimes the randomness of the road and the drifting around, that becomes routine in the sense that you become used to the unexpected, and even that gets expected, and it's just a constant challenge to stay on your toes and stay ahead of the muse.
I like that. I want to talk about your lyrics. We had a short discussion after you played Ashtray earlier, and that was one of the earlier. I think the very first song I heard of yours was that YouTube video where somebody paid you in a case of beer to write a song in 10 minutes, and you wrote "If I Was a Fountain."
Yeah.
And that started me down that road, and I got to Ashtray, and it's so lyrically dense, but still very approachable from a melodic perspective. And I've heard that song, I don't know, 60 times at this point in my life, and noticed that you did something a little bit different today, and you kind of addressed it afterwards, but I want to address it again now, and that was the idea of changing. You changed God's gender in the song from he to she, and I want to kind of get your thought process behind that.
Oh, I said I wrote that song a long time ago, and over the years, reflecting on it, you think why it's just habitual almost. Sometimes you just say God in the he pronoun, because it's literally written in everything throughout history in that form, which really doesn't make any sense, because how can God be limited by gender pronouns? I mean, and if we're gonna label God with pronouns, let's include different ones, because there's no one. Why does it have to be a he? And I say in the song, I said, I'm not sure if it was him because I can't look her in the eye. So it kind of incorporates both as possibilities. I mean, if people want to think that way, I don't know. It could be it, they, them, all kinds of things. Why limit something that we can't even really comprehend by pronouns, I guess.
And then how do you feel about taking a song that you wrote? And I love that explanation, by the way. I want to kind of to jump off of that. How do you feel about taking a song that you wrote so long ago and kind of revising it this far after the fact?
Because you have to grow, or else your art should grow with you. I think the recording is one thing, but if you're playing a song live, if you're keeping it as a part of your life, and you notice something that you think it was a mistake in the song previously, or something that you overlooked when you wrote it, I don't think there's any reason why you can't change that. There's no no one told me to like write this or that. I just did because that's what I wrote then. You know, it doesn't mean that you have to keep what you wrote then around forever.
I guess it presents kind of an interesting challenge. Of do you keep the song sort of as like a time lock of this is what it was like an old movie, like they could update it and do what they did to like E.T. and Star Wars, or they could keep it as sort of like a time capsule of what it was at the time. And I think it's an interesting decision to kind of go back and revise. And I mean, this is sort of what we were talking about off camera of like, I think the analogy I made is like there's that saying that you should only get a tattoo if it's going to be something you agree with every day when you see it in the mirror. And that's never really sat well with me. I've always liked the idea of it being something that you're okay rethinking every day. It's almost the opposite. Like, you get a tattoo if you're comfortable with your perspective on that someday changing, because you're going to be constantly reanalyzing it. And you treat your music kind of the same way, it seems like, where it's, if you listen to something as opposed to like sit and disagree with it and continue playing it, you amend it so it's something you still agree with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. I just think a song can keep growing, just like a person can keep growing. And I just didn't think that hard about it when I wrote the song initially. It just kind of came out, and over the years, reading different things, experiencing different things, thinking about different things, like you start to think like, well, there's that one little thing. I'm really like a stickler for like lines, that song "When the Frayed Wind Blows." I had the whole thing written except for that line, "The fury of the frayed wind blows," and I literally walked around like obsessing over it for like a week, I need like the perfect 7 words or whatever to like wrap this chorus up. So like, I don't know, I just get really into words, and I start to think about like what's a line saying, or look back on your stuff and you're just like, this could have been better if I did this, and now I'm going to do that, and that's just the way it is. I mean, maybe it's getting too deep into it, but I don't think it is. I think that sometimes going too deep into things is important.
Yeah, it's sort of your station as an artist to like be the person who thought about these things the most, right? Mm-hmm. So I guess from the other side of things, are there any lyrics that you've written, perhaps a while ago, that you feel like most stand out as something that like hasn't changed, that like, or maybe you're surprised that you look back on and still agree with, or are most reflective of where you are now in your life?
Sometimes this weird thing happens where I write a song like years ago, and it'll come out of nowhere, and then you're like, oh, that's a cool song, and then like a couple years later you end up living it, and you're like, did I just like see my future and just write it, or am I just like being that broad that I'm reading into my own stuff? So I don't know, I don't know. That's sort of like, lyrics are weird for me because they just kind of come, and I don't know where they come from. I just know when it's right, and I mean, I guess like any person making things, they know when they got that buzz from something they think of, and I have like papers everywhere with like pockets and case, like just like lyrics scribbled everywhere, and like I'll extract some of the best lines from stuff, and like sometimes I'll carry a line in my head for like about 2 years, and then all of a sudden, boom, it falls into like the song that it belongs in. It just makes sense. And you're like, I knew I had to keep that, and like I don't know, like I just like come up with a lot of different. I come up with a lot of lines. I don't know how. I hope I keep doing it.
You just keep drawing from the well till it's dry, I suppose.
Yeah, and then or drown yourself in it. That happens.
I'm getting poetic about it. Yeah, just go in head first. So on the subject of drawing from the well, as long as there's water to be drawn, like talk to me about what you pulled from for this new album.
Well, a lot of it is there's a handful of political songs on there, socio-political stuff, and I think that I was watching a lot of politics. I was like, this summer I was just like on it. I was like last summer, like during the election season, and I was just like glued to like internet and TV, like just like what's gonna happen, like all this is so messed up, like, and I think whatever I'm absorbing just comes out. Like I didn't intentionally think I'm gonna write this song about like this or that. Just kind of the line comes, and then you're like, I gotta write about that line, and that line kind of led me to writing handful or several lines took me into the direction of like some more political songs. There's some heartbreak songs because I mean, I'm always getting into trouble with that. Like, so, like, there's always enough of that to go around on an album. So I wrote a lot of songs about, or a handful of songs about, a relationship or something. I'm not sure what to call it, but it hurt. And I wrote some songs about that, and just put myself in a couple of different states and like, see what I got out of them.
Cool.
And there's also a song about quitting cigarettes on there, and a song about my guitar. I don't know. When I look back on writing stuff, I'm just like, oh, that happened. I'm glad I got through that. I'd say I thought I'd never write again, but there it is. It's weird. It's like unconscious. I don't know.
No, I think it kind of marries those two principles we were talking about earlier, of like music being like a timestamp and music being sort of like a living piece of art. And it seems like, if we're looking back at like updating them, it seems like that we're okay leaving the ones that are more of like a historical piece on their own, and the ones that are meant to adapt, we put that extra attention towards.
Yeah. Like, I try to make my songs evergreen as much as I can, so they can sort of like, I want my songs to last beyond my time, like, if that's possible. I really, and like some songs I wrote like 15 years ago, like I see kids today picking up on and liking and like getting into it and then calling out for it shows, and that's like really cool because I'm like, sweet, I did it. Like it's like I wanted that. Like, and I try to. There's a time to be direct with things you have to say, and there's a time to be more, I guess, direct in a more poetic way, as far as like. It's like sometimes like it's like take your lyrics or art and like it's like show someone a face and then have them see what themselves in it, and then like you sort of like let people. I want to write songs for humans, that kind of like say human things and hopefully make people inspired for the better. You can't control what someone sees in your songs, but you can sort of leave them open enough in a certain direction to hopefully have them say something positive, like.
Do you feel like I think you partially addressed this before, but do you feel like you have like a mission that you're trying to accomplish with your music? I mean, I know there's like the socio-political element, and I know there's like the humanistic element, but if there were like, would you consider there to be like an overarching theme or something that like some response that you want to elicit either in a person or in society via like what you write and perform?
I want people to be inspired, and I want to be a good link in the chain of art. Like I want to hopefully, live up to what inspired me, and hopefully inspire someone else to continue that process of inspiration through art. And as far as for like the world goes, I don't know. I hope my music is remembered, and I hope it keeps doing good things for people. I meet a lot of people who say, it inspired them or it's helped them or whatever, and like that's really cool to hear. And I didn't think it would hit people on that level really ever. Or someone was at a show the other night and was just like, you made me like feel something, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I feel too much stuff. Like I was just like, I'll trade you for a day. But like that was cool that like someone actually was just like having like felt. I mean, that was just really kind of like, whoa, like that's cool. I mean, I never thought out like what I wanted my songs to specifically do. I just knew I wanted to write great songs and make people happy. I want to entertain people, make them inspired. That's about the most I could say. I don't know. I want them to leave a mark.
Yeah, and I think it's a pretty profound mission. So I want to finish with an easy one.
Okay.
What's on your playlist these days? What are you listening to? You're driving around all the time. You've got to have a pretty good cadre of music to draw from.
Lately, I've been listening to Tupac, and
all right.
yeah, and I'm old school. I like old 90s hip hop. Rancid and what, Days and Days' new album. Played that one a lot.
Yeah.
Honestly, sometimes I'll be straight up. Sometimes I just drive in silence. Like, it's like,
Oh, yeah.
I love music, but when you do it all the time, like, sometimes you're just like, it's like, on one level it becomes a job, and on the other level it's still like fun art.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's like, if you're working at like the Frito-Lay's factory and you're like doing chip stuff every day, you probably don't go home and buy a lot of Frito-Lays and eat them all the time. Maybe you do, but I think most people just want to kind of get away from what they're doing all the time sometimes. And that's what I feel like for music. Sometimes I need to just hear the wind on the highway for 6 hours and know nothing else. Like sometimes that's much more satisfying to me than hearing like Dookie for like the 6 billionth time or whatever.
Cool. Well, Matt, I want to thank you for taking the time, sit down, talking with me, coming back here, performing again.
No problem. Thanks.
It's been super fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we've probably earned ourselves some lunch. You want to
Yeah.
go grab some pad thai or something?
Cool.
But everyone else, thanks for watching A Fistful of Vinyl. Yeah, check out, if you haven't watched it yet, check out Matt's session with us. Check out the new album. Matt, where can we find your music?
My new album is called Catch Me If You Can, and you can get it on Bandcamp or at Spotify, I think Pandora even. I think it's everywhere. And someone already leaked it on YouTube if you just want to go there and listen to it. But yeah, artists, it helps to eat if you donate some money on the Bandcamp thing or whatever. So, you want to hook me up with a couple bucks, that'd be cool. But you can listen to it for free if you want to. Just like, I hope you like it.
Yeah, and you tour so aggressively that if you're going to listen to the music for free, at least go see him when he comes to town, because he's probably going to be there soon.
Yeah, I'll be around. If you want me to come play your town, just message me and I'll do it.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's wait, we should probably get this recorded. It kind of reminded me of what you said at the very beginning of the session, where somebody on Facebook wrote you. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it said, but you probably do. It was.
I said,
This is an indulgent moment. It's about a quote about A Fistful of Vinyl. We're done talking about Matt Pless.
He was like, this person on my Facebook was like, whoa, Fistful of Vinyl is like the made it for the. Hold on. Oh, yeah. It was like, Fistful of Vinyl is like the made it for artists that don't suck but also don't have any money. No,
so accurate.
Don't make any money. That was
maybe have a little bit, but don't make much more than that.
Yeah, so
I love that definition. I should put that on like a shirt or something.
Yeah, Fistful of Vinyl.
Cool. Well, yeah, let's go eat. Thanks everyone for listening. I guess this is the second ending to the interview, and I'm just gonna stop talking now.
Right on.
Cool. We're good.
This is going to do it.
I was thinking if I ever needed to make like a country music persona, I would name myself Travis Style. Yeah.
I do that.
Yeah.
It sounds like this guy's gonna come to the party and make all your friends leave with him.
Travis Style. He's a master of finger picking.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, duh!
Yeah,
Oh my
there
God.
it is.
No, keep that out of the interview. That's disastrous.
I'll drop it again later, and you can pretend like you got it right away.
Oh, that was funny. I'm not an idiot.